Haider Ackermann at Tom Ford, which was extremely unexpected. Because Haider Ackermann just joined Canada Goose. And when this was announced, I was thinking to myself, like, what's gonna happen with Canada Goose? Because he literally released that, like, I don't even know if you can call it a collection. It was just like some hoodies and like sweatpants. The stuff now that you're seeing on the screen for Canada Goose. And they actually, when it was announced, I went to the Canada Goose Instagram page to see like what are they saying about it. Does this mean that he's going to just like quit after like not even that long? And they said, oh, we're happy to like share or something like that on Instagram. So he'll be doing both roles. Not that Canada Goose is taking any of his time, or it's going to require much work from his side anyway. So that
I'm
was
gonna say
very
it's a day a
interesting.
month.
Literally, the other crazy thing, before I even talk about Haider Ackermann, that I thought was totally insane, was when Tom Ford stepped down from his brand. Of course, Peter Hawking became the creative director. Now, I thought that Peter Hawking was an amazing fit because Peter Hawking has been with Tom Ford forever, literally since the Gucci days of Tom Ford. He's been like damn near Tom Ford's like right hand. And to see that Peter Hawking only designed like, was it 2 collections? And then all of a sudden left. I don't even know why he left, or if it was like the execs weren't happy with what he did,
Tom
or
Ford wasn't happy
those
with
kind
him.
of things. Really?
Oh my god,
Why
there's like,
though?
guys, there's so many articles about it.
I didn't look into it. I was just confused as to like why would he not want Peter Hawking to be at the brand when he was literally there forever. Like they got on so well. I remember listening to interviews when he first went to Tom Ford. He did a podcast, I can't remember with who, where he was talking about how much love he has for Tom Ford and how Tom Ford basically like did so much for him and started his career and gave him a job when like he was young and he really needed it and like all that sort of stuff. So that's a shame.
There's so much, yeah, and like even to the point where they weren't happy with his wife being too involved, and they were taking samples from like her wardrobe and like complete copying them. Execs from different brands were saying like, "You're too YSL, you're too Celine." Like at least, like even if it looked Tom Ford, like they were seeing that they were stealing pieces from the brands and direct copying it. Like there was a lot of
Mm,
behind the scenes stuff going on, and then Tom Ford got pissed off, yeah, for Tom Ford like cosplaying sort of thing. And when the runway happened, apparently it's all in. Let me find the article and I'll put it in the chat. Um,
yeah, I'd
and
love to look into that after because I was like, it just didn't make sense to me. And even if, okay, I get that, but I don't understand. Anyway, fashion is weird. I don't understand the way people have friendships or relationships in fashion. But if I've known someone for that long, I don't see how our relationship could break down over like something like that. I just don't get that personally.
from the only thing I will say is that what I've read, and it is public, so I'm not like spilling tea, is that
Mm,
Tom Ford was left with a bad taste in his mouth about the undercurrent of like Tom Tom Ford himself not doing whatever what's the guy called that left? Sorry, my brain's gone dead.
Peter Hawking?
Peter Hawking. Um,
Yeah.
what he said about like kind of the state of the different studios and things like that in different articles, it kind of left a bad taste in his mouth.
I don't know, man. I just think fashion people are just weirdly petty and sensitive over stuff that like isn't that deep. That's just my personal like take. But hey, that's just what I think. But to go into Haider Ackermann, of course, he's been appointed as the creative director at Tom Ford. So the first thing that honestly came to my mind when he was appointed as the creative director of Tom Ford, I thought about Berluti. And the reason why I thought about Berluti was I didn't like his time at Berluti. Obviously, he wasn't there for a really long time. But the reason why I thought his time at Berluti was really strange was because he took over after, I think Alessandro Sartori was there, because Alessandro Sartori went to Zegna. And he's honestly been able to like reshape Zegna and turn it into, a very, very interesting brand and modernized it in many ways. And I really like where he's taken Zegna. Um, and Haider Ackermann replaced him. And even at the time, I was like, why is Haider Ackermann going to Berluti? Like, Haider Ackermann is the kind of designer that mixes, you know, textures and fabrics and prints and layers different fabrics in very unique and interesting ways. And that just isn't Beluti. Like Beluti is a footwear brand that is now known for like a boring level of tailoring that like people in tech wear. Like the kind of suits that people in tech would wear to work. Like that's Beluti. And it just, you could even see when you look at a lot of the Beluti collections that Haider Ackermann did. I actually put some of them on the screen. You can tell that his creativity was actually stifled by being at Beluti. Like you could, when you look at the collections, you literally could see he's just like a shell of himself. And not, that's not to say that he's obviously his design, he's an amazing designer. I'm literally like a fan of Haider Ackermann, but you could tell that he was kind of like restricting himself at Beluti because he couldn't really do what he does best at Beluti. And that's part of the reason why I think it didn't work. It's part of the reason why I think it didn't resonate. It's part of the reason why I just think it didn't gel. And that's why he left shortly after joining. He barely lasted that many collections. So I just thought that was a weird time because now when I think of Tom Ford, of course, Tom Ford is, there's more scope to be more creative. Um, and I also think that Haider Ackermann, he's amazing at menswear, but his women's wear is also sensational. And I think that he can really bring that balance to Tom Ford that I don't think is there right now. Um, so yeah, but Finn, what do you think? And I was
Oh no,
saying that
I
it
thought his
reminded
Beluti was
me of,
amazing.
I didn't like it. It wasn't for me.
Oh no, see, I think that was his best work.
Oh hell no. I
Yeah.
totally disagree with you there.
Oh my god, I think his Beluti was his best work.
Oh hell no. I definitely strongly disagree with that.
Yeah, I loved his Beluti. It's to the point where I craved it. That to me was the men's Celine.
Are you trolling?
No, genuinely not.
What did you enjoy about it?
It just felt so luxury. I mean, this is literally me. Roll back 15 minutes ago when I said I don't want to look luxury. Um, but it was like a little bit rock star, but it was still fucking luxury. And it was like, I could wear this to the office. And genuinely, this is me gushing. Like, I think it is amazing. I'm not trolling.
I thought you were trolling. When you said it's like the menswear Celine, I was like, is this guy trolling?
No, genuinely, I think it's amazing. And I I actually didn't always like his mainline stuff, and then when he went to Beluti, I loved it.
See, I'm different. We're like the opposite kind of customer then, because his like mainline stuff. What? Like one of my favorite collections. I was actually talking about it in the Discord. I'll put it on the screen now. Is this collection here, the Fall Winter 2012 collection? Now, like context, I can honestly talk about this collection forever, but just context. Um, so one of the big overarching like themes in this collection was the fact that a lot of people used to say that his clothing isn't wearable, which I thought was very strange because Haider Ackermann is like very wearable. Maybe it's because of the way it was styled, maybe it's the prints and patterns. So within the way that he likes to design this collection specifically, he wanted to like show a collection that he can do where it's wearable, but it's also like still his codes. You still get like the weird textures mixed together. You still get the weird layering that he likes to do. You get the sharp tailoring. You get kind of like the Japanese inspired silhouettes also. You get all of that just styled in a different way where customers can find it more commercial. And he was kind of trying to prove a point with this collection.
So
Um,
I think his image is amazing. Like the product, the runways have always looked good.
but
Would you
I'm
say the
like the
quality is
clothing
amazing
to
though?
me. Okay, quality, no. But I have a lot to say about the quality. So the thing about Haider Ackermann quality is his brand was owned by BBVA,
That
and that
fucking
was run by
Andy
Anne
owner.
Chappelle. Yeah, Anne Chappelle, who owned Andy. And one of the reasons Andy actually left the brand, she left the brand for many reasons. One of it was because she fell out with Anne Chappelle because Anne Chappelle just wouldn't listen. Like when I tell you, I say this as like my favorite brand is Andre Lemista. I have more than 11 pieces from Andre Lemista from over the years. And I can tell you, like, when BBVA owned Andy, it was a shit show. Like, I have pieces that are smalls, mediums, larges, and extra larges, and they all fit me the same way. Like their sizing made absolutely no sense. How can I fit into a small and a large? It was almost like in their factory, they just find whatever label is closest and then attach it to the clothing, because clearly there's no like, didn't even think about the labeling. The quality of Andy went to the shitter. And the same thing happened with Haider Ackermann's like mainline. Also, the quality just went to absolute dog shit. Um, but that's why I like a lot of the earlier Haider Ackermann, because there was a lot better quality mixed with like what he does that I really love, like the sharp tailoring that he does that I've always been a fan of, the weird, really like interesting colors and the weird fabrics that he likes to use and like layer, like stuff like this is just what he does. Um, but yeah, later on, I wasn't a fan of Haider Ackermann, even though I did like the designs, but the quality, I just wouldn't buy it because the quality just went so downhill. So yeah, that's a very valid question to bring up. The quality was questionable.
But actually, you said something there. One of his, I think his last menswear collection, which is a winter collection that he did, is
Yeah.
still one. There is still multiple pieces that I'd buy. So, you know, me saying that it wasn't my thing, like there was still collections that I loved, you know.
Mm,
There was like these beanies that he did that were like patterned and plain, and they were just the right amount of pattern where somebody like me who doesn't really wear patterns would still wear them.
right.
And yeah, he was so clever, especially with sort of satins, then with the cashmere knit. Like his textures have
I
always been
love the way
amazing.
he uses satins. It's insane. And like he would always make these like satin trousers in like really weird shiny colors, like purples and like oranges and reds and stuff.
Also, did anybody in the world, and I mean this genuinely, not as shade, buy that Fila collaboration?
I don't know. I certainly didn't.
But I didn't even know it was available.
I definitely knew it was available.
Um, but there is some. Actually, I do have some tea. There, apparently, that Haider Ackermann almost didn't show up for his own runway for uh, Jean Paul Gaultier.
Really?
There,
Why?
yeah, the Jean Paul Gaultier team absolutely hated him.
So I've heard, obviously, I don't know Haider Ackermann personally. I've heard that he's hard to work with. I've definitely heard that, which is why most times when he works at places, he doesn't last long
Yeah.
because he's really hard to work with. I've definitely heard that. And like history would suggest that because he never lasts long anywhere. Um, no, it's just true. The truth is the truth. It just is what it is. But as a designer though, I'm a massive fan. But yeah, he just never seems to last long anywhere.
Do you, do you think his designs, and this is just me reading between lines, do you think he is a very good fit for people that like Yoji and Rick, like especially early Rick and Yoji, but
Early
wanted
Rick,
color?
yes. Early Rick, yes, but it's a bit too much color for Rick.
No, but I mean it's
Um,
almost for the client that wanted the color.
right.
Do you know
The
what I mean?
silhouette wise, I can see similarities with like early Hyder and early Rick, to be fair. Um, although Haider Ackermann uses like really weird like textures that are a bit more weird than Rick Owens. And then obviously Haider Ackermann will like mix wacky ass patterns. And I don't think Rick ever does that.
No, not really. Oh, I love this couture collection, guys.
Yeah, this is another obviously standout thing that Haider Ackermann has done recently as like a show of his design prowess. For people that don't know, of course, what essentially happened was Jean-Paul Gaultier himself, he quit designing couture at his own label, and he started having guest designers who can come in and design a haute couture collection under the Jean-Paul Gaultier house. So this is Haider Ackermann's collection with Jean-Paul Gaultier. They have also had other guest designers like Glenn Martin, Simone Rocha, who else off the top of my head?
Sakai.
Yeah, Chitose Abe. They've had quite a few people design like guest collections. I feel like I feel that he hates that he has a job now. Damn. Why do you hate that he has a job?
No, he hates it because he can't be with twinks and travel every day.
Oh my god. Leah says, after you posted this, I immediately went and investigated so many amazing looks.
His trousers have always been impeccable.
Like, I love his trousers. Like I said, even like the fabrics he uses also.
There's just this like they're always cropped, they're always like a carrot cut, but they're just perfect. Or they're like
Yeah.
super low rise, but they're formal.
Understood said, what was interesting to me was at the Simone show, the Jean-Paul Gaultier show was all anyone was talking about. Damn. Luke says, some of these looks indicate he would be good at McQueen. I think Haider would be good at a lot of brands, to be honest.
You
I
could put
wonder
Haider
though,
anywhere.
McQueen though, do you feel like McQueen would pay the salary that like Haider Ackermann would probably command? I don't think they would.
But
I
they're
don't
owned
think
by
they'll be
Kering.
willing to. I know they are, but why is Sean McGear there if like they could have hired a Haider Ackermann instead?
That's a very good point.
Sometimes it makes me think that they want like a designer they can mold more so than a designer that's just going to do their own thing. And so they don't want to pay as much also. Um, hence the like Sabato, Desano, hence Sean McGear, like all that sort of stuff, because that's all carrying. McQueen, Gucci.
Oh, he's always been great at linings as well. Sorry.
Oh yeah,
I
100%.
see now I'm saying it, I do really like his work, but I just don't always like it as a whole. I like his key signatures, you know? It's so
It's so interesting
sensual.
because with Haida, obviously I like the menswear. I used to wear a lot of the menswear, but also the women's wear, even though I couldn't wear any of it, I just absolutely loved it. I just thought it was so good. Obviously, Fall Winter 2012 being one of my favorite collections, where he was literally doing these like long line blazers, but then adding like the motorcycling jacket detailing on the shoulders, and it was just insane. The Neptune man says sometimes we need new talent emerging. That is a good point. Although I don't, hot take quickly, I don't know. I think questions need to be asked about the way a lot of designers these days think about fashion, like Sabato, who I'm not a big fan of at all, or like even Sean McGear, who I'm kind of indifferent about. But like, I think there's a bit of a hole in the way that some of these designers, not saying new designers do that, because there's new designers that if someone asks me, who do you recommend for this job? I can give you 20 names of amazing designers. But for some reason, the ones that these brands pick, the way that they think about clothing and the way they design is so uninspiring. Like there's nothing they do that's innovative in any way. Like when Haider Ackermann came onto the scene, when people like Rick Owens came onto the scene, um they rip people off, like in the case of like even Phoebe was ripping off like Jill Son and Helmut Lang, but then she started designing things and making stuff her own. The same thing with Rick Owens. He would like jack a lot of stuff from Madeleine Vionnet and then eventually found his silhouette and then became his own. And that's something that Yoji says, like copy, copy, copy until you kind of find yourself. It's like actually really good advice. But the designers now, they don't even when they copy things, it looks bad. Like, do you remember that Met Gala look that
Don't talk
Sean
about that
was
look.
referencing for McQueen? Even when he copied it, it looks horrible. You can't even copy well. So, like, I just think questions need to be asked about the way some of these new designers that people are picking. Why are they picking these designers? And why do these designers design this way, like in such an uninspired way? Like, questions need to be asked, in my personal opinion.
And it's like, hey, Sarah Burton, yeah. So, hate Sarah Burton's vision as much as you want. Everything she did was finished beautifully.
I agree.
You know, there's sometimes you can't knock it when things are beautiful gowns, beautiful gowns.
And Duke says they copy, but they don't improve at waste of time and money. Understood says they're not picking them for design prowess. They are picking them because they think their clothes will sell. Well, that's clearly a bad idea because that's not working. Like we know what's been going on with Gucci financially. Clearly, that's not working.
Do we think that's and I'm going to defend Sabato here. Do we think that's a Sabato problem or do we think that's an economy problem?
I think it's two things can be true at once. I think it's a partially Sabato. I think his clothing is very uninspiring, but then part of it is also the strategy of the brand itself. It's kind of like with Burberry. For all the problems of Burberry, I don't think any of it is like Daniel Lee's fault, for example, because I actually like a lot of his collections, apart from the most recent collection.
Agreed.
So realistically, sometimes it can be both. It can be partially the designer, partially the team, partially the way they're marketing it, partially like it can be many different factors all in one.
Although T went into the Burberry store the other day. No, I went. Sorry, the last time I was on a live, I spoke about a Burberry store, but I've been into another one since, and
Mm,
I don't think they really talk about the design enough. I think
really?
they, yeah, I think when they were under Christopher Kane, they really got used to sort of just, they sold a check or they sold a dream or there was such a strong identity with Burberry, and that now you go
Hmm.
in, and I kind of think Tisci has messed up for them their brand identity to a point where Daniel Lee is making really great product,
Yeah.
but the
Why do you
team
think it's not resonating though? Because I just think the Burberry Daniel Lee stuff is so good. Like, why
price
is it
point,
just not resonating? It really
price point.
confuses me. Obviously, the price point, we've talked about that in the past, but like, aside from the price point, people don't even talk about the clothes. Like, for example, brands like The Row, the price point is insane, and loads of people that could never afford it still talk about it.
Do you think it's because you made a comment earlier? The road's always been expensive, so people expect expensive.
That could be part of it, to be honest.
Because Burberry at one point was the same price as buying like a Mulberry.
Yeah.
It was that mid market. Not mid market. That's a bit shady actually.
Oh, Luke said Christopher Kane. Yeah, yeah. Finn meant Christopher Bailey, but he said Christopher Kane. It's fine.
Sorry
All
guys,
of us,
I've been
all of
sick.
us misspeak. It's a live stream. He's been talking for a long time, guys.
All right, just
You
say
know
that
what
I'm
he
annoying.
meant. But yeah, even talking about Christopher Bailey though, like Christopher Bailey had a really hard job because when Christopher Bailey was there, he was trying to like take it away from the chav associations, and he tried really hard to do that. And I
Well,
think eventually successfully did that.
didn't Christopher Bailey literally into his last 2 or 3 collections not even use the Novacek?
Yeah, but that was the reason why. Because they were
Yeah, that's what I
trying to
mean.
like
Yeah.
repurpose, yeah, like reposition where Burberry is in the market and like reposition like the way people view Burberry and what the perception of the brand is. And so that was a hard job to do. And you just would have thought that by the time he handed it over, it would kind of just be like, just continue it. But Ricardo, I just think there was just no through line with a lot of the collections, and the commercial stuff was some of the worst stuff I've ever seen in my life. Like that TB check that they just put on shoes and t-shirts and hats, it was god awful.
Yeah, it was bad.
Like I used to see that stuff in Selfridges and be like, good lord.
But I hate to say it, the Essex boys bought it.
The Essex boys.
You know, if my local builder is wearing a Burberry t-shirt, it's infiltrated everybody. And I don't mean that as a cunty gay comment. I just mean like if my local builder who has cash money, right, they get paid all the time, right,
Yeah.
is going to spend
Builders
their
are
hard.
actually rich, you know. Contrary to
That's
popular belief, builders have a lot of money.
that's what I'm saying, but they just don't have any taste.
Yeah.
Sorry, they want to show their money. That's what it's like in my that's what it's like in my area.
No, I lived in Essex for a few years. I know what you're saying.
And it's like if
Everyone
they're
just
buying
wears
it,
like loud logos. They just want to show off logos. That's the typical Essex thing. It's not even like a stereotype. I lived there. Like that's how
yeah.
people dress.
And once it hits those people, it's hard to go back from it. And then when you take that away from that audience, they've got cash to spend and they want to show it.
Hmm.
Like when you take that away from that customer base away, because that's what Daniel Lee's done. He took that away,
Mm.
which makes people like me happy because I don't want to see that shit. But I don't know.
But even if Daniel Lee took it away, once again, like I've obviously done the whole live stream about Burberry, but once again, the greater issue is the fact that they jacked up the prices.
True.
That's the greater issue.
And they don't want to retract on it, which is so funny.
Yeah, it's funny. Did you see the interview with the new CEO where they asked him like, okay, now that you've realized that you can't make Burberry the new Bottega because that's the initial reason why they hired Daniel Lee, are you going to reduce prices? And he said, yeah, we have no intention to reduce prices. I'm like, ugh. When do people learn?
Well, that being said, actually, Balenciaga also made a similar comment. You know, when there was so many comments about it being too expensive,
Mm.
and now their jersey line has gotten cheaper. So, you know, as much as they say these things, watch a couple of their price points start getting cheaper again.
But it has to get cheaper because otherwise they won't survive. Like it's just that's just the reality of the situation. Like you can pretend all you want, but reality is reality. Like you're not doing well. You've been kicked out of the FTSE 100. You're about to get kicked out of the FTSE 250. Like we can see it. Like we can see the figures. We see how the stock shares are going down by the minute. Like we can actually go online and view these figures for ourselves. Like you're not going to act like everything is okay and everything is fine and dandy at the brand when it's not. Leo says the prices do not match the methods they're using to meet their expected targets. Burberry are lost in that department because their new designs and their new ideas and designs become unapproachable. In short, these CEOs are delulu.
But did you notice? Oh, do you know what? Actually, I don't even want to talk about Burberry. Just because I become so neurotic about certain details that I've noticed.
Yeah. Going back to Haider Ackermann though, what do you think we can expect from Haider Ackermann at Tom Ford? Like, what do you think he's going to go back into his like his bag where he's doing these like like really nice like trousers that are cropped in like these silks and satin fabrics and interesting colors and layering different textures and different prints, or do you think he's going to do something more like classic like what he did at Berluti?
I think it's going to be a mix between what he did at his own brand and what he did at Beluti, and which is, by the way,
Right.
exactly what Tom Ford is now, just with a bit
Yeah.
more flair.
Because over the years, Tom Ford has gotten way, way, way more commercial and way more like safe. A lot of the modern collections are really, really safe.
They should bring back those sequin football jerseys, guys. Also, do you know what? I can't even say it on this live because I feel like I just look like I'm shitting on people.
What are you going to say? Go on.
Yeah, I was looking at some old Tom Ford collections the other day for Gucci, and I just don't think they're that good.
Okay, I don't think you're shitting on. It's funny because there's opinions that like I have, but I don't talk about it because no one asked me. But if someone asked me, I'd like be like, yeah, yeah. Like I don't see Tom Ford as like mad innovative in terms of like what he was designing. I think a lot of it is like when people talk about it, it's like nostalgia and like branding. I think it's also the fact that obviously commercially he did save Gucci. So the narrative of him commercially saving Gucci adds cachet to all of the clothing. So even if it's not like from a design standpoint, like, oh my God, this is insane. Look at the way that he's tailored this garment. It's I think part of it is very much like the nostalgia of the fact that he saved Gucci and like the impact that he had and like the marketing campaigns, obviously like the famous pube campaign that he did with Gucci, like all these different things, right? Um it was more like an image, it was more an aesthetic, it was more like a lifestyle, more than this clothing is so monumentally like insane. When I think of designers that design things that are like interesting from a design standpoint, right now, I think of designers like Kane and Amia, or these are people that are really innovating design wise. Like Kane and Amia is like up there. The guy at Anrillage, what's his name? Muranaga, I think.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I think he's doing that. Kunihiko Muranaga, I think is his name. But yeah, he is like really innovating in terms of like design. These are like when you look at design, clothing, silhouettes, you know, structure, pattern making. These are the people like Gino Watanabe with a lot of his modern shows too is doing that. Tom Ford is not that. That's not, if you're going to Tom Ford, that's not what you're getting. So I think it just depends how you look at it. But if I do think people talk about his Gucci as if it was innovative from a clothing design standpoint, which it isn't. But I do think it was innovative in different ways. That's all.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Also, Understitch has just said something to me that I in the chat that I didn't know. Tom Ford went to Ferragamo.
What
Did you
Tom
know that?
Ford?
Worked at
No,
Ferragamo? I didn't know that.
I don't remember him being at Ferragamo. I remember what I remember from Tom Ford is Gucci, and of course YSL.
I hate this one as well.
Why?
I thought Albert Abad did a better job.
Fair enough. It is kind of funny though that obviously Yves Saint Laurent himself didn't like Tom Ford's YSL.
Look, some people have taste.
Yves Saint Laurent was always complaining when Tom Ford was there, like, "Oh my god, he's destroying my brand collection by collection, one at a time." Like he used to like complain about Tom Ford being there, like he did not like it.
But that being said, right, I've been saying all this. I can be the arsehole of arseholes, right? But I can also admit that I do love Tom Ford accessories. And
But
sunglasses,
the
I
thing
would buy
is,
100 pairs.
like that's what people buy. Like people buy, like a lot of men buy the Tom Ford footwear and suits. Like they absolutely love it. They absolutely like, especially the footwear, like Tom Ford footwear for men is massive. And then Tom Ford sunglasses for men. They have the aviators that are really iconic for men. The Tom Ford aviators, people love those. And then these like black frame sunglasses that people love. So no, I think his accessories like are quite iconic. And obviously, we can't even talk about the fragrance line. That's one of the most successful designer fragrance lines across the whole industry.
Oh, I love his fragrance line.
Same.
And I'm not even a fragrance guy. And my mum my mum is not a fashion person. Well, she kind of is. Anyway, but she has worn
You
the same
lying
pair.
on your mum's name? Crazy.
Well, she's not like, you know. Anyway,
Didn't you say
um,
she like buys pieces though here and there? She would like buy a piece.
yeah, I mean, she's got like Simone Rocha and Issey Miyake and stuff, but it's not like, she's not like me who's sat here looking at collections. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
She always says anytime she walks past Tom Ford, it could be a perfume stand in Selfridges, it could be in Debenhams when Debenhams was about. She always go, oh, Tom Ford, isn't it so classy?
mm,
So he's obviously did something which is like he infiltrated the zeitgeist of being like, if you wear a Tom Ford fragrance, if you wear Tom Ford sunglasses, you are classy and you're rich.
exactly.
You who
If he's
knew?
wearing Tom Ford on the first date, he's about to ask you 0 questions.
Literally my best friend.
Yumi says most people's mama do not own Simone Rocha and Issey Miyake. That's true. Why does Micah always like fucking coming to my door when I'm midstream? I feel like he does it on purpose. He's trying to disrupt my streams, guys. Should I open the door? Guys, should I open the door? Should I leave him outside in the cold?
Leave him outside.
You're nice.
I don't like people, so it's fine.
Oh my god, you guys are mean, saying I should keep him out.
They get it.
That's crazy. But yeah, I'm honestly looking forward to it because I'm just happy to see that Haider Ackermann is actually at a brand where we can see him, you know, in all his creativity. Because that obviously being a fan of Haider Ackermann for so long and then seeing the Jean Paul Gaultier collection after like he had a bit of a hiatus was so nice to see. And that Tom Ford will just be good so that he has a proper creative outlet because Canada Goose is not a creative outlet for a designer of Haider Ackermann's ilk. Haider Ackermann could probably design those Canada Goose collections in 5 seconds.
This is the collection that I really liked, by the way.
Oh, the Haider Ackermann collection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the beanies. I fucking love the beanies. And that pep, what's it called? You know those vitamin C tablets that you get that fizz? And then you have the piss the next day. I love that yellow. So good.
And the Belgians, like, obviously Haider Ackermann's not per se Belgian, but like the people that go to the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Antwerp, they have like a sensibility that I really like, whether it's like Haider Ackermann or like Glenn Martins, or even like I think Chris Van Ash went there too. There's just a specific sensibility.
But no, the colours in this collection are insane. Those blues, that piss yellow. Oh my god, that acid piss yellow is so good.
Yeah.
I have such a way with words.
Canada Goose's Haider Ackermann's Uniqlo C, I think it's worse than that. Because Uniqlo C, you do put in some effort. I think with Canada Goose, like, realistically, because it's not Moncler, like, there's nothing that Canada Goose is going to do that's going to be overly innovative. I don't think they're going to allow him just design some crazy shit like a Moncler Genius collab.
Yeah, but then you think, actually, before Moncler Genius, Canada Goose was doing collaborations with Vetements and Y Project.
They also did a collab with, I think, did they do one with Juno Watanabe? I feel like they did, but I might have been in North Face.
Jin J, wasn't it?
Oh, it was Jin J. There we go. But yeah, they've done good like one-off collaborations, but like when it comes to, because Moncler Genius was like year after year after year, and it was like a good amount of designers, like at least like 8 to 10 each season. You'd have like Rick Owens, J.W. Anderson, like Matthew Williams. Like there was a good, they'd have obviously Grenoble, which is obviously like a recurring thing. So yeah, all these things were like going on. I don't know if like Canada Goose has that like scope.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Also, I feel like Genius has died a death.
Yeah, I don't hear about Genius anymore. They're not doing any more with it. I don't know why though.
But no, very excited for Haider Ackermann at Tom Ford. Just to see, and also I think like it's such a weird appointment, but it makes so much sense.
You think it's weird? I thought it makes a lot of sense, to be honest. Because I know Tom Ford does like Haider Ackermann's designs. Like he's expressed that a few times.
I think weird in the sense that I didn't see it coming because I thought Peter Hawking was going to be there for a while, and then I genuinely thought prior to Sarah Byrne getting the job at Givenchy that Haider was going to get a job at LVMH. So I genuinely thought that. So you say it's very expected, Luke. Yeah, no, I get that Tom really liked his designs and stuff, but I just didn't see Peter leaving so suddenly.
Yeah, I honestly thought Peter would be there for like those crazy tenures, like 10 years, 11 years, because he was there from Gucci days. This man has seen Tom Ford in he was there in the Gucci days, he was there in the YSL days, he was with Tom Ford at the eponymous label. Like, what? How did they just fall out like that? He's been there forever.
And also, how can somebody who no longer has a stake in his own brand have such impact on his own brand still?
I know. It's just insane. On this, it said, didn't Genius from the beginning say they were going to be capped at 8 designers? So Genius is a bit confusing because they'll have 8 designers, but then they have recurring things that they put under the Genius umbrella, like Grenoble, for example, was under the Moncler Genius umbrella. And they were like, I'm trying to remember, there are a few other sub-labels of Moncler that they rebranded and put into the Genius umbrella. So it then became like 10 to 12 separate collections each season under Moncler Genius. This YouTube channel runs on your support. If you want to support the channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon. You'll gain access to exclusive content that includes everything from my Patreon podcast, where I give a behind-the-scenes insight into the fashion industry, as well as a fashion book club where I review my favorite fashion books. You can also check out my fashion ebook, which highlights the best fashion journalists to follow, definitions of common fashion terminology, and how to determine what a good source of fashion information is. The links to everything are in the description below.